I was 11 when my mom left for Canada just for a month. She said it like it was nothing, like she was stepping out to buy groceries. I'll be back before you know it. She smiled, zipping up her suitcase. I stood in the doorway, watching. What about me? You're old enough, she said. There's food in the kitchen. Be responsible. Before leaving, she pressed 3 crumpled dollar bills into my hand. Use this if you really need something. $3. Hey, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the bell. Your support means everything and helps me keep creating. Thank you so much. I didn't understand what that meant yet. I thought maybe she had more money hidden somewhere. Maybe neighbors would check on me. Maybe this was some kind of test. She hugged me quickly, called a taxi, and left. No one came. The first day felt strange, but manageable. I ate cereal for breakfast and leftover rice for dinner. I watched TV until late, trying to distract myself from the silence. By the 3rd day, the fridge was almost empty. By the 5th, I realized she hadn't told anyone I was alone. I knocked on the neighbor's door, pretending I just needed sugar. They gave me bread and jam without asking questions. I stretched that food for days, eating slowly, drinking water to feel full. At night, the house felt too big. Every sound scared me. I slept with lights on. A week passed, then 2. She didn't call. I stopped expecting her to. I learned how to ration food. I learned how to keep doors locked. I learned how to act normal when people asked where my parents were. They're traveling, I would say. One afternoon, I counted the last coins in the kitchen drawer. 20 cents. I sat on the floor and cried quietly, not because I was hungry, but because I realized something painful. She had forgotten me. By the 3rd week, I was surviving on whatever I could find. Crackers from the back of cabinets, ketchup packets, water. I stopped feeling like a child. I felt like someone stranded, figuring out how to stay alive without being noticed. Then, one morning, a car pulled into the driveway. I ran to the window. My mom stepped out, smiling, tan from the trip, carrying shopping bags. "Surprise!" she called cheerfully as she unlocked the door. I stood there, frozen. She walked in, looked around casually. "You're fine? See? I told you, you could handle it." She never asked what I ate, never asked how I managed, never noticed how thin I had become. She started unpacking souvenirs like nothing had happened. I watched her silently, and in that moment, something inside me changed. I wasn't angry. I was done. I understood, at 11 years old, that I could never depend on her again. She moved around the kitchen like she had only been gone for an afternoon, talking about airports, weather, shopping, people she met. I stood there quietly, watching her place chocolates and souvenirs on the table as if they were gifts that could replace what I had gone through. "Why are you so quiet?" she asked finally. I looked at her, really looked. She didn't see anything wrong. "I was hungry," I said. She waved her hand lightly. There was food. "It finished." "You should have managed better," she replied, already distracted by unpacking. That sentence stayed with me for years. You should have managed better. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded, because something had shifted inside me during those weeks alone. I had stopped expecting care, stopped expecting protection, stopped expecting to be someone's responsibility. I became careful after that. I started observing her instead of trusting her. I noticed how she always put herself first, how she disappeared emotionally even when she was physically present, how every problem somehow became my fault for not handling it properly. At 11, I started learning things most kids never think about. I learned where she kept important documents. I learned how to use the stove properly. I learned how to save leftovers, how to stretch food, how to make things last. I also learned not to ask her for anything. By the time I turned 13, I had already started small ways to earn money, helping neighbors with errands, cleaning yards, tutoring younger kids in math. I never told her. I kept the coins and small notes hidden inside an old pencil box under my bed. That pencil box became my sense of safety. Every time I added money to it, I felt calmer, more in control. She never noticed. Years passed like that. Quiet, independent, careful. Then one day when I was 17, she laughed while talking to a relative. She's always been very independent, she said proudly. Never needed much from me. I was standing right there. I didn't correct her, because technically she was right. I had trained myself not to need her. By the time I turned 18, I had enough saved to apply for a part-time course and get a job. I didn't ask her for fees. I didn't ask her for help. I didn't even tell her my plans until everything was already arranged. She seemed surprised. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "You were busy," I replied calmly. That was the pattern of our relationship now. Polite, distant, functional. But something interesting happened as I grew older. She started depending on me. Small things at first, asking me to handle bills, asking me to talk to people for her, asking me to figure things out when she didn't want to deal with something. The same way she had told me to manage at 11. I always did. Quietly, efficiently. And I kept remembering those $3. They were never just money. They were a lesson. Don't rely on anyone. Years later, when I had a stable job, my own place, and savings that gave me real security, she began telling people how well she had raised me, how responsible I turned out, how strong I was. I listened without reacting, because I knew the truth. I wasn't strong because she raised me well. I was strong because I had to survive her absence. And she had no idea what that really meant. Years later, she brought it up like a funny memory. We were sitting with relatives when she laughed and said, "Remember when I went to Canada and left her alone for a month?" She handled it so well, always been mature. Everyone smiled. I didn't. I waited until we were alone that evening. "You left me with $3, I said calmly. She blinked. "What? You left me for a month. No food plan. No one checking on me. I had nothing." She frowned, trying to recall it differently. "Oh, don't exaggerate. You were fine." I ate bread from neighbors. I slept with lights on because I was scared. I learned how to survive because I had no choice. She went quiet. For the first time, she didn't have a casual answer ready. "I was just busy," she said softly. "I know," I replied. "That's the problem." There was no anger in my voice, no accusation, just clarity. "I stopped needing you that month," I continued. "Not emotionally, completely." She looked at me like she was seeing a stranger. "I thought you were independent by nature." She said, "No," I answered. "I became independent because I had to." The room felt heavy. She tried to say something, then stopped, because there was nothing she could say that would change what happened. That month shaped my entire life. My habits, my caution, my savings, my distance, my need to always be prepared. Those $3 taught me more than she ever did. And she was only realizing it now.